Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Stylist Meets Vinyl. My name is Chris. Guys, today I want to talk about a couple of musicians that we recently lost, Jeff Beck and David Crosby. Now, when Jeff Beck passed away a couple weeks ago, I thought about making a video, but I'm not, I don't want to make it seem like I'm an expert in anything because I'm not. This channel is about me discovering music and sharing those discoveries with everyone and kind of sharing the information that I do know about certain things. But I thought about Jeff Beck and I picked up a lot of Jeff Beck albums this past year, and I thought, okay, I could show those, but I'm still discovering Jeff Beck and still kind of getting into him. So I didn't feel like I could kind of talk confidently about that. And then last week, David Crosby passed away. And that is an artist who I know a little bit more about. And I actually have seen him with CSNY live. And so I thought I have a bit more of a connection to David Crosby. So I thought, okay, I should probably, or at least I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on these two guys passing away. So first, I'll start off. I'm not going to say too much about Jeff Beck, but I am going to start off and show you the Jeff Beck albums that I picked up this past year. So the first one we have Jeff Beck Truth. This is his debut album from, I think this is from 1967. Excellent album. Rod Stewart is on vocals. Ronnie Wood is a guitarist on this album as well. Very, very worth checking out if you like Rod Stewart, if you like Jeff Beck, Ronnie Wood, any of that. Then I also found Beckola. This was at a record show. This is the album after Truth, and this was the first one to be under the moniker of the Jeff Beck Group. Beckola, Jeff Beck Group. Also with Rod Stewart on vocals as well. A really good one. And then I found Blow by Blow, which is a solo album from Jeff Beck. This is from a little bit later in the 70s. This is mostly instrumental. There are a little bit of lyrics, but it's mostly instrumental. I think he covers Stevie Wonder on this one, and Stevie Wonder plays actually on this one. Really cool find as well. That was a thrift store find that I found this. Also at the thrift store, I found... this is a compilation album, but you can see Jeff Beck here, Beck's Bolero. That was what kind of caught my eye with this album. Okay, I should check this one out. And then I also found this album, which is Box of Frogs. This is also at a thrift store, and again, it caught my eye because in the liner notes, it talks about Jeff Beck playing on this album. So he's not a member of this band, but he played. And actually, this is former members of the Yardbirds in the 80s released this album, and they had Jeff Beck come back, Jimmy Page came back, and they played, and actually Rory Gallagher plays on that album as well. Anyways, so those are my Jeff Beck albums that I just wanted to show because, you know, he passed away. And as I say, I'm kind of still getting into him, and I'm glad I picked those up this year, and now with him being gone, I can dive deeper into them and discover them a little bit more. But I wanted to talk about David Crosby. Last week, I woke up to a text from my father informing me that David Crosby had passed away. He was 81 years old. I think he was fighting an illness, and he had passed away. And you know, I'm not a huge David Crosby fan. I do love CSN, CSNY, but I kind of found that it actually kind of affected me. Like I found myself getting choked up when I was reading about his life and reading about his just his history with the band CSNY. He was in the Byrds as well, and I was just sort of thinking about his life, and all of these sort of thoughts came to me, and that was why I thought, okay, maybe I should make a video just to kind of share these thoughts if anybody cares about what I have to say. But so I'll say I'm a fan of if anybody saw my my vinyl tag for 2023, in that video I did for my string of 3 albums. It was with CSN and CSNY albums, and for me, I have a connection to CSN and CSNY because of my dad. My dad is a big Neil Young fan. He likes a lot of folk music, and he got me into CSNY when I was young. And so, as a teenager growing up, I was discovering all these different classic rock bands, and CSNY was one of them. And I had the fortune of seeing them live, seeing CSNY live in 2006. In Toronto, and I was with my dad, and I got to see it. I was with a couple other buddies as well, and it was just, you know, any time that you're able to see a concert with your mom or your dad or a family member, it's just such a cool experience to be able to kind of marry his experiences with the band with my experiences with the band, and share that experience together. And it was a really, really great time. And I've got photos, but they're super blurry, which kind of tells you what kind of a night it was, I guess. But it was also, I was thinking, why are these so blurry? And it was before smartphones, so you couldn't just like take a picture and then check and oh, okay, yeah, that was good. So we were kind of just blindly taking pictures, and they didn't turn out great. But I got to see them live, and it was 2006 Freedom of Speech tour, and I picked up this shirt, which I don't know if I've ever worn this on the channel, but it's still in pretty good condition. This is the Freedom of Speech tour, and you can see the Toronto date on here. And actually, I picked up another shirt at that show. They were selling outside of the venue for $10. I've definitely worn that one a couple times, but I couldn't find it. I think it's in the hamper or something like that. But I'll show you my CSNY albums, my CSN and CSNY albums. So here is their debut from 1969. This is a fantastic folk album. If you're unfamiliar with these guys, check this album out. Is truly amazing. On the topic of David Crosby, so they all kind of share songwriting credits here. They've each got 2 or 3 songs each. Guinevere by David Crosby is fantastic. Wooden Ships, written by Crosby and Stephen Stills, and Long Time Gone as well, written by Crosby, is fantastic. Then we've got CSNY. This is when they added Neil Young into the mix. This is Deja Vu. Deja Vu, the song was penned by Crosby, and this one's a little bit more of folk rock, a little bit more rock and roll than the other album I showed. And then we've also got this album that is called So Far. And this is actually basically like a greatest hits of the last 2 albums that I showed you. The best songs from each they put together on this album. This was from 1974, and it was actually, this cover art was written by Joni Mitchell. And speaking of David Crosby, Crosby actually like discovered Joni Mitchell, and I think they dated for a little while. So he was the one who really brought her into the spotlight. Then following that, you've got Four-Way Street. This is the album. This is my father's copy, as was Crosby, Stills, and Nash. My father's copy, and my dad had this on CD as well when I was growing up. And so this is the album that really got me into them. And I knew I liked Neil Young, but I started to hear contributions from Graham Nash and Stephen Stills and David Crosby, and I was like, wow, these guys are good. I really like these guys, you know? So this is a fantastic, fantastic live album. The CD is great too because it's got some tracks that don't appear on this vinyl, but either one is worth checking out if you're not familiar. And then this is from 1976. This is CSN, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and this is another great one. After Neil Young had left, they continued to make music, and this is a good one too. My favorite song on this one is not a Crosby song, but it's a Graham Nash song. It's called Cathedral. Really, really good song. Really good song. And then I've also got my last CSN is Daylight Again. This is from 1981. To be honest, this is not that great of an album, and I usually don't keep albums if they're not very good, but this is from my dad's collection that he had given to me when he gave me all of his records, and I just keep it for kind of sentimental reasons. But when I was thinking about Crosby and his as I mentioned, it reminded me of my dad, and it got me kind of thinking about him, and then it got me also thinking about my friends and like my really good buddies, you know. And because I was thinking about this relationship between the bandmates that he had, Stills, Nash, and Young. And if you know anything about the history of David Crosby and the band, they had like an acrimonious history. They had a lot of falling outs. They had a lot of like coming back together, reunions, and more falling outs. And you think that that first album I showed by CSN was 1969, so 54 years ago, 53 years ago. And it's amazing, this friendship that they had. And unfortunately, in 2014, they all kind of had a big falling out, and they never reconciled after that. Crosby, I mean, if you know anything about Crosby, you'll know that he speaks his mind. He says whatever is on his mind, and sometimes, you know, even he, I'm sure, would have admitted that he bites his tongue sometimes. He puts his foot in his mouth sometimes. And he said some things about Neil Young's new wife, Daryl Hannah, at the time was his girlfriend in 2014. He called her a purely poisonous predator, which is not really what you want to say about your good friend's partner. Just a word to the wise. You don't want to say that. And I don't think Young ever forgave him for that. And so Young actually stopped even using David Crosby's name in interviews. He wouldn't even address him as David or as Crosby. I don't know what he called him, but he wouldn't even say his name for the last 9 years, 8-9 years. And and then of course the other two members, Crosby, Nash, and Stills, they kind of took Neil Young's side, and they were all kind of a little bit upset with Crosby. And Crosby did end up apologizing. He publicly apologized, I think, more than once, but they never were really able to mend the fences. And unfortunately, when Crosby passed away, they were all kind of at each other's, I won't say at each other's throats, but they were not reconciled, and they were not necessarily friends. And then it just got me thinking about, you know, friendship, and when you've known people for 50 plus years, and, you know, I think of friends that I have that I've known for 25, 30 years, and the brotherhood that you have with them. And there are friends I have that I can get angry with, and I can be so angry with, and then the next minute it's just water under the bridge, and we're brothers again. And, you know, you love them, but in that moment you're so angry with them, you know. And it really is a great thing to have friends like that you can experience those highs and those lows with. But it's definitely sad to see that the band was never really able to reconcile. But I was happy to read that all three of them, Stills, Nash, and Young, did release statements, and they basically acknowledged in this statement that, you know, they had a rocky relationship, all of them. They had some really, really fantastic moments, and I was happy to see that Neil Young also put out a statement and used Crosby's name in the statement, and was able to at least just say some nice words about him when he passed away. And so there's a lot, you know, just all that stuff. It just got me thinking, and I think it's kind of what got me a little bit choked up, just thinking about these relationships that I've had, and the juxtaposition between those guys and my life. And I'm not a rock star or anything, but I do have friendships that are sort of like that, and it's a great thing, you know. And Crosby has released, he's been prolific in his old age. He's released a bunch of new music, and I don't have any solo David Crosby albums, but I am looking for them, and I will eventually add them to my list, to my collection. And there's a lot of good documentaries, and Crosby, he had a life. I mean, I think he lived 2 or 3 lifetimes. He suffered from cocaine and heroin addiction in the 70s and the 80s. And I know that was an issue for the acrimony between all of the band members as well. And I think he may have spent some time in jail as well, or rehab or something like that. And it's great that he got clean. I think at the end of his life, he He just smoked a lot of pot, and that was it. But he, you know, you'd hear interviews from him towards the end of his life, and he was just happy to be alive and living every day to the fullest, and just making music with, I think, his son. He made a lot of music with, and that's just a great thing. And you know, I think we should all try to live like that, of just living life to the fullest and enjoying every day for what we have. And so that's just my piece. That's just kind of what I wanted to say, just kind of speak my mind on this issue that just kind of tugged a little bit on my heartstrings. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to come right back here where Stylus meets vinyl. Thanks a lot. See ya.